Hey everybody, welcome back to Northernlion, plays Abiding by AFTERBIRTH Plus. As Dan Giesling says, what a good mojo on the roll, please. Good mojo on the roll as well, by the way. Oh no. Acceptable, but also a little scary. How do you eat yourself out of a prison made of cake? One bite at a time. We're on bite 2, WJ7X42JC. How do you win with Lilith? Well, you know, I know correlation doesn't equal causation, but talking about Judge Judy for a laborious amount of time appears to have been pretty useful last time, don't you dare. These demon hearts come with me, and they leave with me. I will not be sacrificing them under any circumstances, thank you so much. Okay, so I have like a mantra at the start of these episodes, and I like to repeat it to center myself. Even though I don't practice any of that stuff. You know, people are always talking, well, let's go with the mantra first. The mantra is we're going to make good decisions, we're going to play deliberately, we're going to have fun, and we're going to let our true skill shine through. Or, if we suck, we're going to bury it deep underneath. I got to think about that. Well, let's move on. You know the one, I don't meditate. And I don't practice yoga. I don't know, I feel like I should be saying this in like an attack ad running for California State Senator. Like, Senator Letourneau doesn't practice yoga. Senator Letourneau does not live in the present. He has an extreme blockage of chi on his 4th chakra. Anyway. But, you know what I admire about the... Well, I don't disadmire. I don't even know if that's a real word. I'm going to take this for the speed, by the way. I was just thinking, because I know it affects your range in a way that could be negative. Because of the fact that it changes shot height instead of changing the actual... let's go. The actual range stat. We might be able to buy something useful here on floor 1. Let's give it a shot. I'm not disadmirant, which is definitely not a word, of any of the stuff that is practiced therein. So this was highly debatable, but we kind of hedged our bets here because we were able to get enough money to get an arcade on the next floor yet again. I just bought a key, so we lost 8 cents going in there. Oh well. But I'm definitely, like, I'm jealous of the mantra of living in the present. You know, I think that that's important. You ever find yourself, you know, you'll be like in an awesome moment. You know, like you just got an achievement that, not an Xbox achievement, you know, but like, you know, you worked really hard for something and you got it, and then you're in that moment where people are like, congratulations, you did it. And then you're like, in your head, you're thinking about lunch. You're like, oh man, I wonder what I'm gonna have for lunch. Basically, a lot of my mindfulness techniques boil down to like just remembering that lunch will always be there even if I'm not thinking about it, because otherwise I'm like, I mean, man, this is cool and all, but like I wonder if they got that pastrami on rye at the sandwich place down the street. It's a seasonal special. Haven't had it in a while. Have the seasons changed? I don't know. And then you might be saying, well, what if it's after, you know, 4 or 5 p.m., you know, well outside of the lunchtime window? What do you think about then? It's a pretty easy answer. Tomorrow's lunch. Dinner, sure. I like dinner well enough, but, and you can have some amazing dinners, but lunch, I don't know. There's something about lunch that gets me. I was talking to a friend of mine because he was like, you know, hey, we're coming to town on Saturday. Do you have plans for what you want to do? And I was like, man, this is not a joke in the slightest. This is literally what I said to him. I said, all I'm thinking about is tomorrow's lunch. I don't know if this means that I have a problem or if that I have less problems because I'm a simple man. I know which meals I like. For a long time, people would ask me what your favorite meal of the day is. There was a right answer. Breakfast. I feel like if you say that, you're going to get the most number of people that are like, oh yeah, breakfast is underrated. And it's not underrated. You know, I feel like breakfast is a disrespected meal. I've talked about it many times. Number of people that and again, I don't have the mental solutions, the nutritional solutions, the physical solutions, etc., etc. The number of people I meet that are like, man, I get really zonked. Oh my lord. I get really zonked by like, 1 p.m. or, 10 a.m. I wonder if there's anything I could do to, improve my energy levels and my mood and irritability early in the day. Well, do you eat breakfast? Nah, I ain't got time. Never ate breakfast, and I've always felt this way. So, wait a minute, I think I've discovered the correlation. Look, I'm not saying it's always breakfast. I'm just saying breakfast is a great meal because you always have an excuse to eat it. I'm just saying, I think it'll help you out. I value eating a breakfast at about 1 hour of sleep. My personal opinion. If you were like, you can get 6 hours of sleep and then not eat till noon, or you can get 5 hours of sleep, but we'll give you a nice breakfast when you wake up. I'm suffering the like 2% quality of life change from the -1 hour to get a 10% quality of life change from the breakfast. That's how I value it. I don't know if we should try these. It's a little scary. But what I am going to do is go look for the secret room, hopefully get shop access and feel better about this run, because we've been a little underpowered for quite some time now. They really want me to hold 2 active items, and it's not terrible, but I'm abstaining and resisting for the time being. Ragman. There we go. I do value breakfast. I feel like dinner is, well, here's the thing. Dinner has gotten more valuable as I've gotten older because it doesn't just represent a meal. It represents, time spent with loved ones, Lunch is sometimes eaten quickly, at the counter of a deli or something like that. Breakfast is you shove it into your mouth just before you go to work, and then you might also eat something. Let's grab this real quick. I feel like this item kills us instantly. We lose Incubus potentially and get nothing. Well, we might get 1 familiar out of it. It would be a devil familiar, but so is Incubus. So, alright. Bit of a weird one. So I can see forever. The thing is, we can get a bad trip, we can't get a health down. So I think we're in the right to try to roll the dice there. So it's 2 of hearts, I can see forever. We're going to explore a little bit. This one is very underpowered right now. We have not really improved any stat but range and speed, I suppose. Got a lot of work to do. Lot of work to do. Now this is a double key room, right? Yeah, double key room. Anyway. So dinner's nice. And the other thing with dinner is that dinner, it can mean a few different things. Lunch is basically like I'm eating a food item and possibly a side. Dinner is like, if you wanted, you can have an appetizer. You could have a drink. You could have dessert. If you had all 3, well, I'm not gonna shame you, but fiscally you must be killing it. That's unless you make it at home. Who having appetizers at home? Nobody's having an appetizer at home unless it's like they're having a dinner party, right? In theory, this room should be worth it. In practice, I gotta admit it is, but it kinda stunk. Amnesia, at least we know it exists. It's not that bad. Silver dollars. Silver dollar is what allows us to reroll all of our rooms that we come across, right? Like our item room in our shop. I'm gonna say thank God for the HP, because everything else here is a little bit wonky. Yeah, this is not a great start. But you know what? It's not necessarily a terrible start. Sorry, I suppressed the hiccup there, weirdly enough. I haven't had the hiccups in like a year. Coffee's coming too fast. Well, we can't open that, so that's an easy decision. Anyway, that's my meta. I think it changes, by the way, based on who you're with. There's sometimes I have like a sentimental attachment to breakfast. Oh, that was just, if you can dodge that, stop playing this, start playing Toho. That's how you pronounce that, I think. Every time I say it, though, people go, they type lol Toho, and I'm like, that's how it's pronounced, dude. Trust me. I have spent my fair share in Japanese classes learning how to make an onion volcano. And they're always like, man, this is harder than Toho. It's Toho and Tutoru. Like, I have a sentimental attachment to breakfast with my boys. There's something about, I think it's like a relic from the collegiate age, where like on a Friday, you would indulge in too many adult beverages, and then you wake up a little bit late on Saturday, and you'd be like, hey, you guys want to take like a 20-minute walk and then go get a really, really filling breakfast? And they'd be like, yeah. And you would be like, this is male bonding right here. Slowly poisoning your body in 2 different mechanisms and reminiscing over a night well spent. Lunch, I like it as a solitary meal. Of course, I wouldn't, you know, object to good company, but for me, I like, it's like an airport meal. You know, you look at your phone or you watch the TV in the establishment you're in, you eat a burrito over the course of 11 minutes and just enjoy peace and quiet, you know? I got a bone to pick, by the way, and it's an airline-related bone to pick, or an aviation-related bone to pick. You know, there's 3 kinds of people in the world. There's introverts, extroverts, and ambiverts. And I want to tell you something. I am an ambivert, but if you're an ambivert, just shut up. That's, you know, you don't get a title for being in the middle. Everybody else, if you're extremely extroverted and you're like, I don't feel right unless I'm talking to people, sure, you get a title. If you're an introvert and you're like, I don't want to talk to anybody, which is a little bit of a misnomer, it's more like you need to be alone to recharge your, you know, your morale levels, you get a title. If you're just like, little column A, little column B, you don't get a title. I'm sorry. And I'm speaking as the champion of the ambivert class, okay? We call that average. If you want to go, you just be like, I'm a normal individual. Sometimes I like to be social, sometimes I don't. That's fine. That's not gonna bother me. I mean, it's not gonna bother me either way. I got bigger fish to fry, you know? I got adult stresses in my life. I don't need to worry about this sort of label-based business. But anyway, here's what I'm gonna say. Most of the people watching this, I'm willing to guess, are introverts or ambiverts. Just, you know, watching YouTube, Twitch, playing video games. Not always a solitary activity, but an activity that probably skews towards the people who are, you know, you doing this in their alone time a lot of the time. Doesn't mean you're antisocial. Oh my lord. To be fair, why did I take it? Doesn't mean you're antisocial. Just means you're not, you know, maybe you need that recharge time solo. Maybe you just don't like some people and have told them you're introverts so that they stop bugging you. But in reality, if people were cooler, you would spend more time with them. We will blow that up. And then, here's, what I'm saying is that I'm preaching to the choir, okay? Because I know that people are going to be like, I agree with NL in this. And I'm always skeptical to some extent when I come up with something that's too agreeable, because it's almost too easy. It's like whenever a YouTube channel is like, nobody respects the gamers. I'm like, dude, that's not fair. That's like going to the Cheese Council and being like, cheese is the best food. It's like you're not putting yourself out there. You know 100% you're gonna, the reaction you're gonna get. You know, where's the testicular fortitude to be like, cheese is good, but sometimes I prefer the cracker. You know, that's when you're gonna get some conversation happening. But anyway, I've noticed this happening a lot less over the course of the, you know, the very, very short period of time that I've been flying. You know, maybe like, I guess now it would be, you know, like 10 years basically. It used to be that people would talk to you on airplanes all the time. You would be reading a book. They would be like, hey, notice you're reading something over there. This is the extrovert poison, okay? If you're an extrovert, that's fine. I'm a little envious of you a lot of the time, to be honest. And I think you should, you know, recognize that you got things, probably, you know, in terms of those two things, the spectrum of those two things, you're on the positive side. You know, you're on the side that's a little bit more accepted by society. Let's take champion belt. But what's not fair is that y'all get to impose your will on the introverts, because oftentimes introverts are too polite to say, shut up, please, I'm reading. Number of times, not recently, but in my past, when I would, you know, be on an airplane, I'd be reading, and I'd be like, you know, I mean, back then it was also a little bit of like thinking that there was a decent chance that I was gonna die on the airplane, which thankfully, you know, knock on wood, that anxiety has disappeared. But whoop. And then somebody would be like, hey, notice you're reading a book about history. What's that like? And I'd be like, I don't know what you want from me. Do you want me to explain the entire, you know, the fall of the Roman Empire? Because to be honest with you, that's what the book's about. So I don't really know about it yet. I got to learn a little bit more. You, as an extrovert, have a responsibility to not fall victim to your extroverted tendencies versus strangers, because it's a little bit of a selfish action. That's all I'm saying. It's not a major problem. I think extroverts also sometimes have the idea, and sometimes I do want to talk to strangers. Sometimes I'm like, yeah, dude, tell me more about like what your life is like. Like, I don't have much of a problem engaging in conversation. Just sometimes I would prefer to not do it, you know? But I think they have this idea that all introverts are like, they're waiting for their extrovert, like, ugly duckling moment where they're gonna be like, I'm ready to, you know, finally become a social person. Like, my grandparents were so much like this. Like, if you were shy, that was a problem. Anybody who grew up shy, you know, can sympathize. Whoop! There's so many questions, like, that are annoying to shy people. And not even, because sometimes, like, I wasn't even shy, I just didn't have anything good to say. And I just didn't want to speak just to hear the sound of my own voice, which is ironic considering my job. And people would be like, why are you so quiet? What are you thinking about? And then you gotta, like, make up something to think about. Because if you say nothing, people go, yeah, I bet you're thinking about nothing. Okay. But if you say, like, well, I was thinking about lunch, they go, oh, cool. You know, you can start to build off a conversation from that point. Trust me, I've been there. For the fact that I spend, you know, 6 hours a day talking to myself every single day, your boy grew up not shy, but quiet. I think it's kind of like an only child thing where I was like, it wasn't that I was like, I have things to say, but I don't want to say them most of the time. It was more like, I don't have anything to say because, you know, until I was 3, I didn't really talk all that much. It was mostly just hanging out, you know, as me and my mom. She'd be like, what do you want for lunch? And I'd be like, SpaghettiOs. And she'd be like, yeah, you do. And now I don't even like spaghetti. Or O's, for that matter. It's my least favorite letter in the alphabet. Just kidding. It's probably Z. It doesn't have a good use in the English language. I don't want to belabor the point. I don't want to offend any, you know, people who love Z out there. I'm just saying, like, what does a Z do that an S doesn't, except, you know, make something look more extreme? Like, it's a letter that exclusively existed in, like, the 2000s to be like, you know, oh, my restaurant's called Meat Pies, but the youth doesn't come here. What if we call it Meat Pies with a Z and then make it green text on a black background? So, by the way, I'm trying to distract myself on this run from the fact that, apart from meat and champion belt, we've been in a bit of a rough spot. Damage-wise, glaucoma's not going to help out at all. Really, what we're trying to do, is just preserve the situation we're in. And eventually, you know we're going to get a deal with the devil, or with the angel. And it might not bust the run wide open, but there's a chance that it can do some good stuff. Going to caffeinate here. We're in a little bit of a holding pattern, let's put it that way. Can a recurring theme of the past, you know, few weeks of Isaac episodes, I didn't even see him there, I got real tricked by his corner spot, is how I'm, not aging, let's put it this way, because everybody's aging. My video game preferences are maturing into like a stereotypically sort of comical fashion. Like, I've been playing a lot of X-Plane 11, which I remember a few years ago, Quill18 was like, I'm gonna wake up early and fly JFK to LAX. And I was like, my boy, you are insane. You have lost your mind. I think we're just gonna go. Wait, fill up the bone heart if possible. And now, you know, Quill, he might be like 4 or 5 years older than me. It's 4 or 5 years later, and I'm like, that dude had his head screwed on straight. But I didn't play X-Plane last night because I was playing Ultimate Fishing Simulator, and I have another... This isn't the punchline. If you laughed, I'm very flattered, but that wasn't the punchline. The punchline is... You know, this is a new fishing simulator that came out on Steam. I don't even like fishing in real life, or at least historically have not liked it in real life because I found it boring. Now check this out. Here's the punchline, which I find... Whenever you talk to somebody and they're really, really funny, it's because they tell you when to laugh. Just like that. And again, apologies for my voice, which is just continuously being ravaged not only by, like, talking a lot, but also by the incredible amount of wildfire smoke that's been in the air for, like, almost a month now. But anyway, the punchline. I started to get annoyed with Ultimate Fishing Simulator because I'm catching too many fish. And it's not me, it's the game. No, I couldn't see him. He was all blended in. Like, I read the store page for Ultimate Fishing Simulator because I'd set like a video to go live of the Twitch VOD of me and Malf and Dan playing it. And the store page was like, are you bored of other fishing simulators where, you know, you fall asleep waiting to catch a fish? And I was like, wait a minute. There's a slower paced fishing simulator? I gotta check that out. Because, you know, fishing in real life is mostly just waiting. If you love fishing, I'm gonna check this out, by the way, because I'm getting a little desperate. I'm not, you know, disparaging the activity of fishing. But this is very good, right? You're gonna home now? Yes. That's as good as homing tiers. As far as I can tell, at least. The only reason it wouldn't be is if we, lost our character element as Lilith. So if we respawned as Dark Judas or something like that, we wouldn't have homing tiers any longer. Would we still have Incubus? I do not know. Man, this run is very, very latent right now. Just hanging out, waiting for something to happen. Speaking of which, that's what I want out of a fishing simulator. This one is like, in like 3 hours... I have caught like hundreds and hundreds of kilograms. Oh, that's gonna suck. Hundreds and hundreds of kilograms worth of fish. That's just unrealistic, which is fine. But I'm like, at this point, a lot of the challenge is taken away. You know, I want to have to research my prey. Go out on the boat. Oh, this is the spot where the sturgeon go. So yeah, I'm finding myself, I don't know, I'm more interested in like methodical games in today's day and age. For whatever reason. Nobody's more surprised than me. I don't know what it is. It's like accomplishing a task. The simulation of accomplishing a task is like, to my aging brain, is like, this is cool. You had a responsibility to do it, and you did it. Doesn't that feel satisfying? Please, by the way, make fun of it. I take no offense to it. I find it hilarious as well. It's not going to stop me from playing them. Oh, I gotta play the stuff that people won't make fun of me for playing. Who cares? Okay. This is a weird one. I think we have to take the nail. Box of Friends is fine. But the nail... I mean, I think that's what keeps us alive long term. Without that, I see us, even with the newfound damage, I see us on like a slow descent. So I'm thinking that this might have been, and you might look at that, and if I gave you the impression that that deal with the devil, by the way, I just whistled when I said impression. I don't know if you heard that. Meanwhile, at home, people's dogs are probably going just crazy. But if I gave you the impression that deal with the devil stunk, that is not the case. I paid a heavy price. All of our red hearts. In return, though, I may have been given the keys to the victory. And we deserve it on this run. It was never horrible, and we shouldn't talk as if it's a guaranteed win yet, but it was never horrible, but it took a long, long time to get where I wanted it to go. That doesn't double, huh? We haven't even seen our item room yet. I mean, we're at 22 minutes on the Depths one. It's, again, another day where I'm like... rip any opportunity to do 2 runs before the NLSS of Isaac specifically. Maybe I could fit in an Ascension run of Slay the Spire, because I tend to lose those in about 35 minutes, but... Haha! Okay, moving on. I'm really interested if you did a poll of favorite meals. I think it probably depends on where you do it. I think breakfast would win, though. Oh my god. I'm not saying it would win with a majority, but I think it would win with the plurality. With only 3 options is pretty close, right? The other thing is, I'm fascinated by food for many reasons. And not even in like a cool, like, you know, scholarly sort of way, but I do think it says something about, you know, you can infer things about a culture from the habits that they have when it comes to food, right? Like bedtime, for example. When I grew up, I woke up usually around 6:45 a.m., believe it or not. Everybody who sees people living the streamer lifestyle goes like, I could never wake up at 10:30 on a weekday. Trust me, it's the easiest thing in the world. You just close your eyes and enjoy yourself. I've lived that life. I've lived that 6 a.m. life. For like, you know, 20 years, basically. And then, even more so, like in 9th grade, I would go to bed at like 3 a.m. and wake up at 6:45 to accompany my grandfather to the gym. And then I would go work out. I mean, I wasn't doing anything too impressive because I was like 13, but you get the idea. Mulligan, huge. Huge. So I've lived that, you know, waking up early and not necessarily on a whole lot of sleep lifestyle. Now I like to sleep in a little bit, but we wake up at 6:45, we would eat dinner at 6. Like clockwork every single day. 6. If it was like 6:05 and dinner wasn't served, nobody was getting mad, but we were like, oh, what went wrong? If it was 5:55 and dinner got served, we'd be like, wait a minute. Not ready yet. I had planned for 6, and it's 5:58. I will take my requisite 2 minutes, and then I'll see you, mother. Really healthy home life. Actually, I shouldn't even joke about it, because we... You know, my family and I have a great relationship, and I'm lucky to have it. Not everybody does have it. I'm mostly just joking about the fact that Rob thinks I grew up on, like, a heritage estate. But actually, it was a modest home in the suburbs.
The world.
Okay. Well, I think we're going to fight for it. We have Humbling Bundle. And we have Sack of Sacks. So if we're not cool with HP by the end of this floor, it might be a problem, but I think we will be. So for me, dinner time had always been somewhere between 5 and 7. You know, I think you got to give like a bit of a window for dinner. But as my parents have gotten older, they have, I would say, fallen victim to the classic, like, aging curse in North America, where they'll be like, you know, whenever we're there, they're like, okay, guys, plan for dinner at 6. We're going to make reservations for 6. And then we're like, cool, that's fine. And then my mom will be like, well, what do you think about maybe like 5:30? We could probably beat some of the rush. And I'm like, yeah, 5:30 is fine. And then, you know, we're in the car at 4:45. We're at the restaurant by 5. And then we're like, we show up to an empty restaurant and we're like, oh, we have reservations. Is our table ready? But then, Kate's parents, and I thought I'd, you know, anecdotally, this was my experience in Korea as well, eat dinner extremely late by my standards. They eat dinner at maybe like, you know, 10 p.m., 9 p.m. It's like in some parts of the world, dinner is really like the meal you eat, you know, maybe like an hour before bed. Historically, I haven't grown up with that, but that's really like, that's more the way that I choose to, you know, live my life now. And I gotta say, if you have the opportunity to try it, I would recommend it. I know, I'm not sure if it's pseudoscience, oh my god, kidney stone, or it's real, but the answer may lie somewhere in between, or maybe pseudoscience, I don't know.
Two of hearts.
There's a phenomenon that's been on my mind all the time, pseudoscience. What I was gonna say is... One second, let me work my way through this room first. Sure. What I was gonna say is like, you know, people are like, I don't eat before bed because then the food's just sitting there while you do nothing. And I'm like, I thought it was more like your caloric load, like, for the day is what matters. And, oh my god, my speed. It doesn't really matter if you just go to sleep immediately after eating. Otherwise, like, wouldn't the best diet to be like I eat lunch and then I go for like a 3K jog or something like that while the food's still fresh in my stomach? Yeah, like, I don't think it works like that. Speaking of, I was just talking about my mom. I think I got a text from my mom right here. What does it say? I'll read it to you. It's the Patriot Act. Look it up. Wow, this is a little bit of a dire message. It says, just let me know you guys are doing okay, please. It's... My mom's... She's concerned about the smoke. I could do a better job to tell her that, at worst, it's just a mild inconvenience. I will... You know what? While we're here, I'm gonna... And it is... You know, this... I actually consider this a good thing. I'm setting an example for you. When your mom texts you when you live far away, you should respond. Hey... And then I'm gonna say, sorry, we are doing great. It's just hazy outside. Love you. I don't need to sign my text. She knows I'm Northernlion. So you should text your mom. And reply to those texts. I haven't always been great about it. You know, people think that, you know, I have a bad reputation for communicating with people, and I think that that's fair, but it's never maliciously. You know, like a text will come in, I'll be recording, I'll see it and be like, my workday's still on. I'll text you when I finish my workday, and then I just forget. So that's where the jerk part comes in, is to just forget. But it's never like I see something and I go, I'm not gonna respond to that. But part of feeling more responsible for, you know, the way I interact with other people has been turning the gaze of introspection on myself and being like, you know, when you don't respond to something right away, you kind of are making the decision to not respond to them, because in all likelihood you'll forget soon after. So trying to be more responsible with the way that I communicate with people and show a mutual level of respect. That being said, I did just get like 3 texts from my mom, and I'm like, okay, I can't obviously respond to all of those right now. Like, that's a little rich, but it says, oh, hey. Lol, thank you. See? Look at that. Little ray of sunshine for your day. You made your mom laugh out loud, which is what LOL means. In case you're not familiar with the parlance of the internet. Anyway. I don't mind. First off, Isaac is like this weird, informal... Shoop. Yeah, we're abandoning the dinner bit, by the way. Isaac is this weird, informal series at this point in my existence. I don't mind doing something like responding to a text from my mom. And I'll tell you why, okay? I don't think that I am a deliberate role model for people. And even just saying I'm not a role model, I understand. It's like, people are gonna be like, dude, this guy's real pompous. He thinks he's a role model. No, I mean, I'm coming at you deliberately. Like, I don't think people should look up to me. You know, there's real heroes out there, you know, firefighters and, you know, people that run charities and, you know, they're just people who have overcome real adversity in their lives, etc., etc. But I also understand, you know, I've got an audience of people, not all of whom, but many of whom are probably younger than myself, and to some extent, like, the actions of people older than you informs the way that you think you should act when you reach that age. And I know that because, like, when I was an only child, I would watch shows like Saved by the Bell, and I'd be like, when I'm in high school, everybody's gonna be like Zach Morris. Not really. It was like a high school full of Screeches. Some of them thought they were Zach Morrises, but most of them were Screech Powells. So you know, any streamer or YouTuber out there, they can choose to run their channel however they see fit. You know, it doesn't really bother me at all. This isn't 0% YouTube drama, because I just, like, literally don't care. But for me personally, particularly, I'll speak with respect to Twitch. A lot of Twitch streamers, do things that I would not feel comfortable doing on my stream. Like being hammered all the time. Or at least much of the time. And, you know, it's not that I don't enjoy a good adult beverage or 2 or 3. It's just that I feel like, you know, even though that's not what the stream is built for, knowing that, you know, there's an audience of 14, 15, 16, 17-year-olds watching it, I don't want them to think that they're like, well, if Northernlion does it, then it's like, that's the way that people should act. You know, I want to put not just mine, but my best generation, or my generation's best foot forward, I should say. And say, like, you know, this is acceptable, this is perhaps unacceptable. That's why, like, very occasionally, it doesn't happen all that often, but we'll get people that are like, you know, you should do a drunk stream. How many subscribers do you need to do a drunk stream? And I'm like, dude, I don't want to do that. I'm an adult. The chicken nugget thing even was like, you know, that was a little bit of like the last gasp of irresponsible youth. And that's something that is like, you're never going to have like negative consequences from one day of eating way too many chicken nuggets, right? That's relatively fine. But the idea that like, hey, if you pay me $4,000, I'll do a stream where I get trashed and possibly say some things that I regret even. Or do some things that I regret. Or just be embarrassing and sloppy. You know, that's not the kind of image that I want you to be like, you know, when I'm 30, I should act like this. Now, here's the thing. You can also, if you want to do that, you're an adult. Doesn't bother me at all. I'm just saying I'm not comfortable putting that image out there myself. The thing is, I consider myself, you know, have you ever seen All the President's Men? I'm a very serious journalist, like Woodward and Bernstein. And you never see Bob Woodward be like, hey, I'm gonna write this column drunk. Because people asked for it. Let's say, I don't know. Don't take this the wrong way, but the streamer and YouTuber interaction is already like parasocial, right? Like there's an inequality. It's one person having a relationship with many people, more or less. And I think it's almost like, you know, it's too intimate to stream in a compromised situation. Like, I know a lot of streamers, you know, they're having a hard time. They'll boot up the stream and they'll, you know, talk to chat for 6 hours or something like that. I don't know. I feel like that, for one, is not something I'm comfortable exposing. But for two, it's kind of like unfair to make chat the support group as well. But that's not really for me to decide, to be honest. I mean, I'm happy with the nail. So we'll take a theme here and we'll move on. And this thing, it's picked up. This should be a win. It was a slog to get there, but anyway. So I just, it's not that I want to portray that I'm a saint at all. It's just that, you know, I'm cognizant of the fact that, you know, whether this is what you decided or not, you know, there are going to be people in this weird kind of like industry that are going to look up to you, and they're going to look to you as an example. And, you know, I think you can always rebuke that and be like, hey, I didn't sign up to be anybody's example or role model. But I don't really like identify with that kind of like begrudging hero bad boy archetype. I'm more like, okay, I'll try to get my life in order and then be the best example I can be, I guess. So, like, I'm not really like a Han Solo. I'm more of a Luke Skywalker type. And I'm okay with that. I don't think Han Solo is that cool. I think he's relatively cool. But when people are like, oh, Han Solo is like the coolest dude in the Star Wars universe, I'm like, why? Because he's got an edge? I don't know. Maybe that's cool. I don't think Luke's that cool. You know, he's extremely whiny, especially in the first movie. But I don't know. Who's cool in the Star Wars universe? It's not Darth Vader. Darth Vader's coolness is entirely concentrated in his helmet. Darth Vader's origin story is like, people don't appreciate me, so I'm gonna do a bad thing. That's like how a 4-year-old thinks, you know? I don't know. I'm not really Mace Windu, you know? I'm not like that powerful or anything, so I don't know. I'd be probably like one of the overly pious Jedi on the Jedi Council. Maybe I would be Ki-Adi-Mundi. I'd be like, what about the droid attack on the Wookiees? We keep forgetting about the droid attack on the Wookiees. I'm watching this run closely right now. Because we did lose a lot of HP. Well, a relative lot of HP on the Cathedral. Dude, I just realized, by the way, I was like, why is our rate of fire so good? It's so good because we got we got Cambion Conception to pay out with a second Incubus. Wonderful news. I don't know, I just think... And I talk about the streamer business, like, to be honest... Oh, there's Little Brim as well. With a homing shot. I talk about the streamer business more than I would like, because I understand that it's really only relevant, even on an entertainment level, to like 1 in... I don't know, maybe 1 in 10 people watching the video. But as the people, you know, most of the people who started at the same time I did, around the same age as I am. And it's interesting watching, like, the way that kind of entertainment changes the older you get, I guess. And people are like, I have a kid now. Does that change the way that I'm gonna, like, behave on stream? Just, and not even, that's it. Usually when people say interesting, they mean bad, but by saying interesting, it's like a code word for them not actually gossiping. But no, I mean, it genuinely is interesting. It'll be interesting to see how it happens for us as well. I just try to, I don't know. I probably care about it too much. Which is, again, basically code for, look at how smart and responsible I am, but... I don't know, I think we have a responsibility to some... I feel like I have a responsibility. Let's leave the ownership there. To at least, you know, pretend to put down a good example. And if you're watching me and you're like, you know, older than I am, you got that experience to make... Oh, I didn't mean to use that. I meant to use the sun. See, good example right there. Using the wrong tarot card. But, you know, it's for people... You know, I grew up in a very small town. When it came to, like, you know, how 16-year-olds should act, it was TV shows, dude. So I understand there's a lot of people probably out there in that same boat that use, or that, you know, whether intentionally or not, look to streamers and YouTubers for, like, a model of where they should be at a specific point in their life. I'm here to tell you, as, like, a 29-year-old YouTuber, do not. If possible. Because, like, most YouTubers, they live very unusual lives. Either they are making way too much money for doing, like, one of the easiest jobs on the planet, and I'm sorry to sell out my profession, but the duties of the job are very, very simple. Without, you know, there's unique problems that come with the job. Isolation, socially, is usually a big one. But, like, I always think, like, burnout is a real thing, and people should take steps to prevent burnout. But whenever there's, like, you know, this YouTuber can't work because they're burned out, I'm like, well, Granddad, you know, worked in the coal mine for 9 hours a day, 6 days a week for 38 years. What did he do when he was burned out? I mean, he went to work and he took the coal out of the ground. That doesn't mean that it was the right thing to do. It was a different era where people weren't as aware of stuff like mental health. So, you know, all I'm saying is that it's a luxury that YouTubers have. And when people... I think sometimes YouTubers unfairly, you know, in their bubble, they assume that they have a job that is uniquely difficult, and it is to some extent, but also, like, you think, you know, your cashier at the grocery store doesn't get burnout? You know, you think your doctor doesn't get burnout? When you go to your doctor, there's probably... I guarantee one time you've been to your doctor, like, just before he or she came in to, you know, do the examination, she was in her office like... Oh, I can't deal with one more friggin' patient today. Like, I gotta take a vacation. You know, it's a luxury YouTubers have. Anyway, I don't even know where I was going with this. Basically, I'm selling out my own profession. I'm just saying YouTubers live in a bubble. I live in a bubble. You know, you either end up with YouTubers who are making potentially hundreds of thousands of or millions of dollars for what amounts to relatively easy and fulfilling duties. I honestly think most of the time to have, like, hundreds or thousands of people message you and be like, hey, I watch your content. I spend like hours a day watching your content. It's the most flattering thing on planet Earth. Most people on the Earth I can't stand to talk to for half an hour before I'm like, get a load of this jerk. Or, you know, they're in like our situation where they wake up at 10 a.m. And that's not realistic either. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you guys have enjoyed the episode. If you did, click the like button. Helps out a great deal. I'm proud of the way we handled this one. If we got impatient, we would have found ourselves in trouble. If you did, click the like button. Helps out a great deal. Of course, subscribe if you want to see more in the future. For now, thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.